So we're going to learn about how to set up your After Effects files. So first thing you're going to do is get After Effects, install it onto your applications or browser, everywhere you can access it. Do not open it yet. Just have it. Make sure it's there. Now, After Effects is a sort of program that takes its resources from a folder. When you put resources, pictures, audios, visual effects, whatever, into the file, it needs to know where its original files live. So thus, when you're putting together any project, anything that something moves in After Effects at all, you have to create a folder on your desktop or wherever you're working from, and then put everything in that will go into that After Effects files into that folder first. So say I am creating an animated lyric video, I need to save the audio for that video, any backgrounds that I may have, any outside PNGs, transparent images, what have you, that I'm going to put into that video or I'm going to be adding to the After Effects file in its own folder, so that when I save my After Effects file, which is also in that same folder, that it knows where it is the next time that I open it up. Because if I do not do that, and let's say download an image and then add it to After Effects, it'll add it for that time that you're using After Effects, but the next time that you open up After Effects and let's say you emptied your downloads folder, it will not have any of the work that you put into After Effects. After Effects is also a notoriously flaky software. It is a huge software for your computer to run. So if the files are too big, it'll slow down your entire computer, but it will also crash. So I will go over this later, but we will incrementally save as, so that you have versions of the project, so that if a file errors, if a file gets corrupted, if a file crashes, then at least you have whenever the last time you saved as preserving. Or else if you just have one file that you have made all of your project progress on for months, and then it collapses on you, or the file gets corrupted because it's too big or something, you will lose all of your progress for weeks and weeks. And there's no way to recover that. So I do this with very, very specific rules to make sure that you don't do that. So back to the start, we are going to open our desktop and create a folder on your computer. This is preferably on a server where you have backup files, but on your desktop is fine for now. So we're going to name that folder either project number, your first initial and last name, underscore, name, and the section of this course. So it should be something like project 1 L Brown underscore JDS 081, when I copy it from the syllabus or from Canvas, so I know where you're coming from. Now, within this folder on your desktop, you're going to make 3 other folders, and it's going to be named versions, audio, reference. So in the version, when you actually open up your After Effects file, you're going to save, again, incrementally, all of your versions of your After Effects file, like you would, let's say, a Google Doc or a Microsoft Excel, where you can save as, and then change the name to whatever, and then version 2, and it saves your progress there on in a different file, so that if you wanted to do your previous file, it wouldn't be corrupted. Anywho, and then in the audio folder, that's where you're going to put all of your audio files, which includes MP3s of music, sound effects, or voiceovers. You can add your own audio here. You can record anything you'd like, as long as it's PG, as long as it's clean, very professional friendly. Now, in your reference folder, this is where you're going to put all of your videos or picture files. Now, the way that this folder is set up is that if you wanted to back up this entire After Effects project, you could. So you could zip this folder, put it in a server somewhere, and then when you accessed it again, you could just open up that folder, and then when you open up the After Effects file, everything would be there because it's all one little new folder. So one thing I will caution is that when you import any audio or reference anything into After Effects, it will keep the name that you downloaded it as. So if you would like to change the name, you should do it before you import it into After Effects. This will not only help with your file organization, as these import as layers into the After Effects file, but they also will keep you in the know of what you're animating instead of trying to figure out where the heck that one file is in like 15 when you're just trying to move one bird across the screen. So once you have all your files and you've organized them into the respective folders, now open up After Effects. It's going to take a second, okay? Totally normal. Wait for the little circle of death to just do its thing. But when the page opens, it should look something like this. So there's a new project on the upper left-hand corner button, an open project. There'll be a home and a learn option. Adobe After Effects actually has provided a lot of tutorials, and you are welcome to use them. They're usually very well produced and very specific on people who actually use this day to day. So now you're going to click the new project folder, and it's going to open up a window that kind of looks like you're hacking into the mainframe. Do not worry. The first thing you're going to do is go up to the top right-hand corner. There will be a little 2 arrows, and you're going to click it and make sure you're in the essential graphics, and it'll look a little more simplified. If you continue with your journey of After Effects, all of these other ones are just different modes of editing. So if you're editing something that is very colorful, or you're motion tracking or animating a lot of text, these are different layouts to help you do those things. But we're just doing essential graphics for now and a little more simplified. So next, you're gonna click New Composition, and another scary pop-up is going to come up. You're just going to put the composition name, which is going to be the same name as your folder. So let's say Project 1 L Brown _ class name. And then you're going to make sure that this in the width and height is 1920 by 1080 pixel ratio. And it's going to be 24 frames per second. In the square below it, where it says pixel rate. These are the standard of animation. Everything usually for a widescreen TV is 1920 by 1080 pixels, which is just like a rectangle, and 24 frames per second. That's how many pictures you see in 1 second. So in regular animation, you would actually hand draw 24 pictures, and that would make up 1 second of film. And then once you've filled that out, don't mess with any other information on here. Don't mess with resolution. The start time and everything is fine. It'll automatically put it for a duration of 30 seconds. Now, this old text box will disappear, and then it'll bring you back to their new blank page. Now, it's created a file for you. We need to save it and let it know that we have a folder for it to be saved in. So you're going to go either press Command S, or you can go to File in the top left-hand corner and press Save As. And it's going to pull up a Save As you normally would for any other document or video. You're going to save to the folder that we made at step 1, and we're going to put it in versions. Now, every time that you save as, you'll up your version number, and it'll be saved in the same place in this version tab. Make sure you name the file correctly. Again, the same name as the folder and the composition, but we just have a version number at the end.
So again, I know this looks very complicated. I believe in you. You can do it. So when you import an image from the reference folder into your After Effects file, you're going to do it in the bar to the left where I have all my reference, you're going to take those files and move them down into your timeline. This bar at the bottom is called a timeline. Don't worry about it. You can call it whatever you want. That's how I'm referencing it. But the bars on the screen are your images. That's how long that they take up in your timeline for your video. You'll see the same name as your file. Now there'll be a little bar to the right. When you add multiple references on top of each other, they will come up as multiple in your timeline, but the bar on the right that you see for the duration is also the order in which you see your files. So if I have a fire video on the first layer, that is what you're going to see first in your video preview. Then at the bottom, if I have, let's say, a green screen, that's going to appear behind the fire video as it's lower in your layers bar. Also, if you have, let's say, the green screen on top and you're like, where's my fire video? It's going to be under the green screen if the green screen is bigger than your fire. Now, if you click this drop-down menu, there's going to be a bunch more options. Now, this is where we actually get into animating. So to animate, you need to make a keyframe, which is just recording where the position size of your video or image is on screen. And then when you move the time for, let's say, 2 more seconds, and then you move it again, it's going to connect the 2 motions. So all you have to do is go to position, which is just up, down, side to side, and click the little timer. This is going to create a keyframe. So it's going to say, hey, I'm going to remember where the position is of this image. And then when you move your cursor farther along the timeline, let's say I want my fire to move to the right in 3 seconds, I'm going to move the blue line over to 3 seconds. And then I'm going to make another keyframe simply by going to position and dragging the 2 numbers to the right of the position. So one is for up and down, one is for left to right. And I'm just going to adjust it where I want it. You can also drag the video or image and it'll just record wherever you put it on screen. And then once you press your space bar or play, it'll preview that it's connected those 2. You can also move keyframes if you want it to go faster or slower. So usually farther apart the keyframes are, the slower the motion will go. You can edit the scale of your image or video by making it bigger or smaller in the keyframes. You can rotate it, you can fade it away with the opacity. The anchor point, you don't really need to mess with that. It is for telling the image that it needs to be connected to another image motion. So if I was animating, let's say, a rocket, and I wanted smoke to come out of the rocket from the back, then I would say, hey, I have this anchor point that I'm parenting to the rocket for the smoke so that the smoke follows the rocket wherever it goes. I don't necessarily need to animate that, but that's, again, a problem for a different time. So for now, import your reference, move it around however you feel, and get a sense of the keyframing, how fast things go, and honestly, just have fun. I would recommend using only a couple of elements, just because this is actually working your computer really, really hard to connect and put these motions into your interface. So please do not import anything more than 30 seconds. Please do not import anything that's a huge high resolution file. Any simple image, picture, or small video, totally fine, works for now.
Now, let's say you've made beautifully animated, your beautifully animated perfect video to show. Now we're gonna export it. So once it's complete, save as one final time. And instead of the versions, you're gonna put final. Then you're gonna go to File, Export, and Add to Render Queue. Now, This is just for this class. There are a lot of other ways to export a file depending on what complicated renders you want. So if you go to a job and do this, they might have different ratios that they want you to export at different ways. But for this class, we're going to go to the render queue. You're going to see a new window that's at the bottom of your screen. And it's going to have your file name and it's going to look really scary. Just match the render settings and the output mode settings to this by clipping the drop-down menu. So you're going to have the output mode to H.264 and you're going to have the render settings to best settings. And then it's going to have an output to, and that is where you put the file location that you want it to send to, and it's going to have the name automatically match the file. Also, make sure that the button on the bottom right of your screen is clicked with a little check that says notify when queue completes. This just lets you know that when your render is done, it's going to make like a little fun sound and you'll know that your video has exported. Now, you can either save your exported file. Usually I like to save it to the versions tab. You could also make another folder that's just for exports or save it in the general folder that you have it. The After Effects file itself is not going to link to this exported link, so it's less important than your reference or other files that might be corrupted. This is going to export it as an MP4, which is sort of the lowest file size that we could possibly export this from. And it will also let the discussions attach it to you in a post or post it on YouTube and then put a link in the chat. So when all this is done, you're going to click render in the upper right hand corner, and this will let the computer run its course and render your image. It's completely normal for your computer to be sounding like a jet engine at this point. It's basically taking everything that you have animated and compressing it into a little MP4 file. So this can take anywhere from 5 to 3 minutes to exporting. I will warn you that if you try to export something last minute, After Effects has an evil way of knowing when you need something fast and being slow, kind of like a printer. So I seriously recommend doing this either the night before that it's due or many hours before to give it as much time as possible. I have had people have their computers crash, their computers just shut off. I've had my own computer running like a jet engine and then just like refuse to export it. For the most part, I will not be judging your After Effects file because the file usually gets too big to attach it to anything. For the final project, I will have you put it on either a drive or a Google Drive or OneDrive so that I can make sure that your files are as I ask them to be. But for the most part, the MP4 is what I need from you, so I need you to give yourself as much time as possible to make sure that not only this exports well, but that this is attached to the discussion board and uploaded to YouTube as the discussion instructions will tell you to do. So keep that in mind. It definitely can sense fear, and it will very much run slow if you need it to run fast. But once you have your MP4 exported, just make sure it's named correctly. You save and close the After Effects file, and that is all I need from you. Sometimes I will have you upload it to YouTube and then share the link because it usually goes a little smoother than trying to attach it to the discussion board directly. And that is how we'll be setting up and exporting our files this entire semester. Once you have it set up, After Effects, for the most part, will remember where your saved files and how your composition is set up. So hopefully you won't have to go in, set it to Essential Graphics, blah, blah, blah. If you have any questions, if you accidentally move, let's say, something in the composition around, you can't find it anymore, please, please, please contact me and I will do the best that I can. However, I will say that since this is a pretty standard software, Google and Adobe questions are usually a great source of answers, as well as I'm sure that you're not the first person to have this problem. But please let me know and I will be happy to help you. I also create spaces on our discussions. There's a discussion post just for questions. Either me or your peers can get to first, or please voice your frustrations in your progress reports so that other people can either commiserate with you or make suggestions about how it can be improved. But good luck. Let me know if I can help in any way, and I wish you the best of luck. All right. I look forward to seeing your work. Bye.